We're continuing to follow the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. It's now day 9, and although law enforcement investigated a couple of new areas over the weekend, we are left with more questions than answers at this time.
Guthrie's disappearance is still a top national story as it enters week 2. Our 13 News team has been following the situation from the very beginning. We are going to be extremely transparent with you all, letting you know all of the information we can disclose at this time. Pima County Sheriff investigators believe 84-year-old Guthrie was abducted sometime late Saturday night or early Sunday morning of last week. She was taken from her home in the Catalina foothills near Skyline and Campbell Avenue.
Because this is an ongoing investigation, we want to continue giving you Nancy Guthrie's description. She is said to be 5'5", around 150 pounds, with brown hair and blue eyes. We don't know what type of clothing she was wearing. Family became worried after she didn't show up to church. Everyone in our local community is asked to come forward if you have any information on her disappearance.
And we have team coverage for you this morning. We have Tyler Butler standing by at Pima County Sheriff's Department headquarters and 13 News reporter Tulupe Ajayi live outside of Nancy Guthrie's home.
Tulupe is going to take us through the investigation and what we may have missed over the weekend. But first, we want to start with you, Tyler. For those who are just tuning into the story today, walk us through how we got to this point.
Yeah, let's bring you up to speed at this point. So last week we were able to finally get a timeline on events of how we actually got to the point where Nancy Guthrie went missing. So let's walk through that timeline again for you. And again, if you know anything, please contact law enforcement. So on January 31st, we know at 5:32 in the evening, Nancy Guthrie went to a local family's home. And later that night, about 9:48, the family dropped Nancy off at her home. We know that because the garage door, it was triggered opening. About 2 minutes later, it closed, and then everything goes quiet for several hours. But at 1:47 in the morning on February 1st, Guthrie's doorbell camera disconnects. Then at 2:12, so roughly half an hour later, the software detects a person on camera. Sheriff's Department says it could have been an animal, could have been a person. They don't know because, unfortunately, they've not been able to get video from that camera because she was not subscribed to whatever service that was, if that was Google Nest or Ring or whatever it may have been. Now, at 2:28, Guthrie's pacemaker was disconnected from an app it was paired to on her phone, and after she didn't show up to church on Sunday, her family checked the house at 11:56 in the morning. They called 911 just a few minutes later at 12:03. Police arrived at 12:15. Now, all these developments come after we have now received 2 separate messages sent into our newsroom. The second one arrived on Friday about 11:45 in the morning via our news tips portal. Now, we're not releasing many details on this yet. Again, as we've mentioned previously, don't want copycats, but also out of respect for the family, not releasing many specific details. What we can tell you about this message is that the IP addresses where the note came from, it was not the same IP address as the first one. An IP address is basically like the stamp of where something came from, like which computer sent it. Now, it does appear that the sender of the second letter did use the same type of secure server that was used to mask the IP address of the first note. So different addresses, but the same secure server. The new note also contains something the senders seem to think will prove to investigators that they're the same people that sent that first note. 13 News has reached out to a former FBI agent who says he has seen things like this, sadly, before.
Typically in an abduction, the kidnappers are going to give a deadline. If the authorities or the family doesn't meet said deadline, some negative consequence happens.
Now, 13 News has already gone and passed that information along to our local law enforcement. As soon as we got that note, we passed it along. Now, we do want to mention that we do know there was a person from California who was arrested posing as the suspected abductors. He's going to be making his appearance in a Tucson court this week. Federal documents show 42-year-old Derek Calleja facing 2 charges related to the phony ransom demand. Investigators say the messages were sent to the family moments after they released a video message online asking for proof of life. Law enforcement traced those phone lines pretty quickly, found it was connected to Calleja's Gmail account, and they determined that the call was made from his California home. Now, a judge has ordered him released on a $20,000 bond. He is scheduled for arraignment here on Thursday here in Tucson. So again, and there have been a couple of instances like that. The people trying to chime in on this case, this is the only conviction, or not conviction, sorry, the only charges that have been issued so far for somebody doing an impersonation of a ransom demand. So we will stay on top of this case for you if we get any updates from the Sheriff's Department. We're based right here, so we'll be able to bring that to you as soon as possible. Madison and Carson.
Tyler, thank you. Also, a lot of misinformation that we've been seeing online. So again, make sure to tune in to us. Also on our website, you can go to KOLD.com. We have the latest information and what we can report there. It is still a very active situation. So we do want to head on over to 13 News reporter Tallulah Ajayi now.
Now, Tallulah, you're outside Nancy Guthrie's home this morning. What happened there over the weekend that we might have missed?
So good morning, Carson. Good morning, Madison. So over the weekend, we didn't really hear anything new from law enforcement, but we did see them actively investigating Nancy Guthrie's home. We do know that since the beginning of this entire situation, the Pima County Sheriff's Department has referred to this Catalina Foothills residence as the primary crime scene. So all weekend long, we had our crews out here just watching and waiting to see any updates with the investigation. And here's what we know right now. On Friday night around 8 o'clock, a car was towed from Nancy Guthrie's driveway. Investigators would not confirm who owned the car, but did say it was part of the investigation. Then after a quiet Saturday at Guthrie's home, we saw investigators taking photos of the garage of Annie Guthrie's home, and she's Nancy Guthrie's daughter who lives in Tucson. Then on Sunday, we saw law enforcement presence return to Nancy Guthrie's home as PCSD cars and unmarked vehicles arrived at the house. And that's when we saw investigators searching through Guthrie's backyard, including what appeared to be a septic tank. The Pima County Sheriff's Department hasn't said anything about the progress of the investigation this weekend, but they did post a statement to X yesterday saying, at the request of the Guthrie family, the Pima County Sheriff's Department will maintain a presence at Nancy Guthrie's residence for security purposes going forward. Members of the media and the public are reminded that all traffic laws and private property laws must be followed. No trespassing is allowed on Nancy Guthrie's property. Violations will be subject to enforcement. So as of right now, PCSD has told us there are still no suspects nor persons of interest identified in this case. And PCSD has also told us they don't have any plans for any media briefings or to give us any updates unless something breaks. Then they say they're going to call something ASAP. And of course, we're going to bring you the latest as soon as we have it. And then coming up in our next half hour, we're also going to tell you a little bit more about how the community is really rallying around the Guthrie family at this time. Reporting live in the Catalina Foothills, Tallulah Ajayi, 13 News.
All right, thank you so much, Tallulah. We'll continue to check in with you throughout the morning.
And we continue to pray and to stand with Nancy Guthrie and her family. And we are seeking to just honor the family's privacy and their desires. It was communicated to me, pray. So we're going to keep praying through this horrific ordeal.
Now to a touching moment at Sunday's worship service at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church.
It's the same church Nancy Guthrie attended, where a week ago, churchgoers alerted the family that she did not show up to her usual service. Pastor John Tittle addressed Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, conveying a message from the family to pray for her. The church was led in a prayer which lasted about 2 minutes, focusing on protection for Nancy and for peace for the entire Guthrie family. Tittle went on to urge the congregation to pray to soften the hearts of those who are responsible and to do what is, quote, humane and right, with the rest of the service centered around the power of forgiveness.
Now, PCSD continues to ask that if you have any photos or video evidence, you can scan the QR code on your screen to submit it. Or you can call PCSD at the number on your screen. We also have all of this information on KOLD.